Mr. District Attorney. Champion of the people, defender of truth, guardian of our fundamental rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
And it shall be my duty as district attorney not only to prosecute to the limit of the law all persons accused of crimes perpetrated within this county, but to defend with equal vigor the right and privileges of all its citizens.
Thank you, Cora. Bye-bye. I'll see you next week.
Bye, and don't worry about your boss too much.
I won't. After all, his wife is his problem. I'll tell you one thing, though. The guy that marries me is going to stay home nights, or else.
I'll see you to the door.
Okay. Good night, Leota. Don't work too hard. Good night. Good night, honey.
Bye. Well, hi, Roy.
Hi, beautiful. Was that the gal you called me about, that blonde that just left?
Mm-hmm. Come on back.
Hello, gorgeous.
Hello.
How's the cold?
A lot better.
You see, I told you those pills would help.
I think you'll like this new one, Roy. I got quite a laugh out of it myself.
Think it might give me some new ideas?
Run it back a little bit till it gets interesting. I think that should do it.
Hey, comb it back farther, dear. This way? Yeah, that's better.
You really think that's extravagant, sending his wife orchids?
His wife? Are you kidding? Arthur Cateson hasn't sent his wife flowers for years. Maybe my face is too full for curls.
So he can't even remember her birthday. Poor Mrs. Cateson.
Married to $50,000 a year? That isn't exactly poverty-stricken.
I think that should give you the general idea, Roy.
It does. There's an interesting nasality and a very odd rising inflection. I think I'll take this along. Say, gorgeous, when are you going to cook some more of that chicken cacciatore for me?
Anytime you say, Roy. Just give me a day's notice.
That's a deal. Maybe later this week, huh?
Fine.
I'll be talking to you, Cora, and thanks for this.
Don't mention it.
So long, gorgeous.
So long.
You too.
Oh, bye.
Isn't Roy taking you out tonight?
No, not tonight.
You're awfully sure of him, aren't you?
Well, of course I am. Why shouldn't I be?
Well, I only thought a man was supposed to spend some time with his fiancée. Or is that out of fashion?
Not at all. But Roy has to work tonight.
That's what he says.
Oh, Mother, I'm ashamed of you. You know Roy wouldn't lie to me.
Don't get me wrong, Cora. I'm very fond of Roy. But men are men.
Oh, Mother, I love you dearly, but you mustn't worry about Roy. I think you just don't realize how much work goes into that book of his.
I realize it only too well. What with those wire recordings and everything. Look, since we're on the subject, I might as well tell you I don't exactly like the idea.
Of the wire recordings?
Well, I wouldn't want some machine snooping on what I say. I think you could at least get their permission.
Oh, but that'd spoil everything. Roy wants them to be completely relaxed.
What if one of these women find out what you're doing?
Well, I think she'd be flattered to think her speech patterns were being written up into a book.
Well, maybe you're right there. Guess I'd be flattered, too.
So he can't even remember her birthday. Poor Mrs. Cateson.
Married to $50,000 a year? That isn't exactly poverty-stricken.
Oh, you know what I mean. She must be dreadfully unhappy.
Not at all. She hasn't the faintest notion that her arty boy is playing both ends against the middle. She doesn't even know that Millie Linder exists.
Hello? Oh, hi. No, not yet. I was just working on it. I was out checking his background. Now, so far, Arthur Cateson, age 52. Wife, Mildred. Children, 3. Haven't got their names yet. He's president of Cateson Incorporated. Got a salary of $50,000 a year, plus bonuses. I don't have his credit rating yet, but he's a member of the West Ridge Country Club. And that spells money in any language. You can hit this baby right now if you want to. Great. Let me know what he says. Today's collections? Just a second. Now, let's see. Duke got $3,000 from Lemuel Jackson today. That's the second time around for Mr. Jackson. And Red hit Wagoner for $500. That makes the month's total only $9,500, which brings me to our only headache, Mr. Amandus Ludlow. How about putting a little pressure on Mr. Ludlow? I have a note here he works late on Thursday nights. Suppose I have Red meet him when he gets home next Thursday.
Please stop by and see Sergeant Kiefer in Robbery Division, Police. Messages like that mean something special to the District Attorney's office. Because a fellow like Kiefer doesn't call you unless something entirely out of the ordinary has happened.
Oh, hello, Paul. Thanks for coming over. Got a little problem.
With a little one, I can help.
You remember a man named Ludlow, Amandus Ludlow?
The one that was on the fund committee last year.
That's him. Do you know he was assaulted last night?
Yeah, I saw it on the report. Was he hurt badly?
Well, he caught a bad bump on the head, but he'll live. He's down the hall now dictating his statement. But it won't do us any good. He won't give us anything to go on. Not even a description of the guy who did it.
Well, what do you mean he won't?
Well, that's the impression he gives me. I wouldn't make anything out of it except that we've had a number of cases over the past few years where I've also got the feeling that the victim was, well, holding out on me. Do you think I've gone off the deep end? Well, the reason I asked you to come over is that since you know Ludlow, chances are he might give you the dope. How about taking a shot at him?
Okay, I'll give it a whirl.
Swell. I'll get my coat.
Hello, Garrett.
Hello, Ludlow. I'm sorry about what happened.
Just one of those things.
Sergeant Kiefer tells me you weren't able to give much information.
Well, here's my statement. I didn't see the fellow at all. The only thing I was aware of was that gun crashing into my head.
You must have had some impression of him, now.
Not much.
Or was he tall?
I don't know.
Did he wear a hat or an overcoat? Perhaps a scar? Anything at all that you can remember? Was it a scar?
He might have had a scar.
Good. Come on.
You see.
These are police records. We have information on every known criminal. Filed according to all kinds of classifications. By the color of hair, eyes, complexion, by height, weight, type of voice, birthmarks, scars, tattoos, mustaches. Well, here we are. Scars. Now, what kind of a scar was it? Was it near the mouth? Or near the eye, the jaw? Think hard, Ludlow. Chances are the bird we want is right here in this drawer. All we have to do is pin him down. Any detail at all will narrow the field. How about his voice? Was it high-pitched or deep?
We didn't say anything. I'm sorry, Garrett. For all I know, I'm wrong about that scar.
All right, Ludlow. Think it over. If you recall anything, let me know.
I certainly will.
You certainly won't. When a thug pistol whips you from the front, you see enough to give the police some kind of a description. Kiefer was right. You are holding out.
Well, Paul?
Bill, those 6 other victims you thought were holding out, can you remember their names?
Victim ballot records.
Well, you'd better do that. Oh, and have research make up a complete analysis. Maybe we'll find some kind of a pattern. If the people in this town are being beaten up, it's our job to find out why, especially if they don't want to tell us. Well, come on, let's go.
Hello, Ludlow. I see Red did a good job on you last night. It was smart to report it as a holdup. Ready to pay up now?
No, I'm not. This strong-arm stuff won't get you anywhere. I told you I was through, and I meant what I said.
Was that why you kept your mouth shut this morning at the police?
I kept my mouth shut because I thought you'd listen to reason.
Oh.
We made a deal 2 years ago. I paid off, didn't I?
Well, that's right.
Well, that wasn't all. You were back 4 more times, and every time you said that was the last. Well, enough's enough. I'm not going to be swindled again.
Look, Ludlow, you've got a real nice family. Do you want it broken up? You want your wife's name smeared all over the papers? You want your kids called names at school? Want them to grow up hating you? Think it over. And watch out for Red. There's no telling when he'll try out that gun again. And he's liable to turn up anywhere.
Have a seat, Ludlow. How do you feel?
What do you think?
You want to use the phone? Call your wife?
He called her from downstairs.
All right, then. Let's get down to business.
Look, Garrett, I'm in no frame of mind to do any talking. Let's get the formalities over with so I can go.
It isn't just a matter of formalities. You put yourself in my shoes. You have a man who was assaulted and robbed, but can't or won't describe his assailant. The next day, this very same man tries to jump off a bridge. The first thing that comes to mind is blackmail. What about it? It so happens you've got company, Ludlow. How many others did you find, Bill?
6.
6 victims of assault in the past few years who won't tell us anything. You're all married, well-to-do or wealthy, highly respected men, active in community affairs. Now, if you were in my shoes, you'd know darn well that this was blackmail, wouldn't you?
All right. It's blackmail. And I'm paying off. It's the only thing I can do.
That won't get you off the hook.
I can always go back to the bridge.
I don't think you will. I think you're the kind of man who wants to see this gang stopped and prosecuted. If we have 6 victims making a show of resistance, and one who got desperate, there must be dozens of others shelling out without a murmur.
I didn't realize there were others. I thought I was the only one.
Come on then, Ludlow. Open up. Tell us who they are.
All right. There were 2 that I know. One is called Red. He's the muscle man. He beat me up the other night. The other I only know by sight.
Well, how do they operate?
They have a recording of some remarks that someone made about me.
Someone? Who?
I don't know.
And you paid off on the strength of that?
Of course I did. If the statement was true, it would convince my wife in a second.
Where can we find these men?
I don't know. They just showed up.
Okay, the next time either of these 2 fellows contact you, just take out your handkerchief and wipe your forehead. Either Sergeant Kiefer or his partner will be around and will see this signal. They'll be with you 24 hours a day. Will you do this?
Of course.
Good, thanks. You've made the right decision, Ludlow.
I hope so.
Act like you've never been to the police before. Live a normal existence.
I'll try.
Lead a normal existence? How does a man do that when he feels like a goat tethered in a tiger trap? From the time he leaves his house in the morning, he's torn by fear. Fear that the blackmailer or the strong-arm boy have caught on to the fact that the police are on the job, watching and waiting. Sergeant Kiefer and his partner worry, too. They take every precaution to hide their identity, but they don't let the victim out of sight for a moment. Yes, this becomes a normal life, going about the day's business, cold with fear, the handkerchief like a chunk of TNT in your pocket, and the police behind you wherever you go, casually pretending to be engaged in some other business. Then, finally, one day it happens. The blackmailer finds you, stops you to warn you that another payoff is due. If you seem nervous, you hope he'll think it's because of his demand, not because you're sweating out the detectives behind his back. So you reach for the handkerchief and talk fast, promising him anything he asks. And you send him on his way, praying he's still not aware of what's going on. Because now the police are about to move in.
Come on.
What follows is routine. The suspect is kept under surveillance until the detectives find out where he lives. They watch the building until they see him leave. And then, while one of them continues to follow the suspect, the other takes the opportunity to investigate inside.
Thanks, I won't be long.
The apartment manager identifies the suspect as Roy Ruby. He lets the officer into Ruby's room where a quick search begins for any clue that will show us where he goes, who he knows, and what he does. He's been clever enough not to leave any traces of his business behind. We expected that. If he'd been less careful, he'd been put out of operation long before this. But little things, trivial things even, may help us. And the officer takes them along just in case. He makes every effort to leave no indication that he's made a search. But what's he to do when he discovers what looks like a valuable piece of evidence? A wire recorder spool promises to be extremely valuable in this case. We know that Ludlow paid off because, how was it he said it? Somebody had a recording of some remarks someone made about me. But just as often as not, what seems like valuable evidence turns out to be exactly nothing.
Is the volume up full?
Yeah, as far as it'll go. It's a race clean.
No wonder Ruby left it there.
Did you get anything on him yet?
His record. 3 years for armed robbery, 1 year for auto theft. These things I picked up from his apartment. Laundry ticket, book of matches, the bill of sale for some auto tires.
Crescent Beauty Salon, luxury laundry service, Charlie's Auto Stores. Well, so far, so good. Keep on his tail. Keep Ludlow covered. And don't close in until we can grab off the whole outfit and pin him down hard. Listen.
Cat. And Ing.
There.
Well, I heard that before, but it's just static, isn't it?
Well, maybe not. Let's see what the boys in radio maintenance can do with it.
I'm going to amplify it for you, but I can't promise much.
Cat. And Ing. Die, cat.
I still can't make it out.
Well, I'll try to run it through slowly for you.
What do you make out of it?
Well, I'd say the first word is can't, and the last two are die cap. Only they may be just parts of words.
Well, what's a die cap?
Never heard of it.
Die cap? Well, that could have to do with threading pipe. Why don't you ask a plumber?
Might be some kind of a gimmick in a machine shop.
Unless it's spelled D-Y-E.
Well, they use dye for textiles and curtains and...
How about hair?
What about hair?
Well, what about shoes?
Oh, wait a second. Wasn't there a book of matches from a beauty parlor and that stuff you brought back?
Yeah. Creole.
No. Crescent. That was it, Crescent.
Well, I've finally stopped worrying, for this year at least. Remember that tax bill I told you about last week?
Tax bill? Oh, yes.
Well, Jerry Oglethorpe got it all straightened out for me.
Mr. Oglethorpe?
You remember that fellow I told you about the time you trimmed my hair? The one who finagles his taxes?
Oh, yes.
Well, he reworked my return for me and showed me how to file it. An amended return or something like that.
Did he save you much?
$62.
Oh, how about an introduction?
Sorry, dear. Jerry Oglethorpe's not an accountant. He was doing me a personal favor. Otherwise, the only taxes that he fools around with are his own. Like I told you that time, he's done Uncle Sam out of $150,000. He can't afford to take chances.
I shouldn't think he would.
Come on.
I'll be right back. I'll be right...
Hello, Roy. I just finished setting her hair. What have you got on a Mr. Oglethorpe? Good. And we can get started right away. No, I'll make the first call as usual. Right. Mr. Oglethorpe, please. Never mind my name. Just tell him it's about money.
Thank you, Miss Sloan. Come in again.
Nice work, Miss Sloan. We finally got what we needed.
What is this?
I'm a policewoman, Miss Griffin. You're under arrest.
Arrest?
For attempted extortion.
Let me show you the setup. The microphone's planted in here, and I think the cable leads into the back room.
Let's take a look.
This is her mother. She's in the clear.
You were right. Here's the recorder.
And the cable leads under the baseboard.
Just a moment. What's going on here? Who are you?
I'm the district attorney, Mrs. Griffin.
Well, if you think my daughter had anything to do with this, you're mistaken. The one you want is Roy Ruby.
We've already got Roy Ruby and a couple of his thugs. And we know how this gang operated. Your daughter wasn't merely Ruby's accomplice. She was his boss.
His boss? You don't know what you're saying. Well, she couldn't have been. I'm positive. She hadn't the vaguest notion that anything like this was going on.
I'm sorry, but you're wrong. Listen to this. We made this recording in the office of a friend of mine, Jerry Oglethorpe.
You don't know me, Mr. Oglethorpe, but I have a business proposition for you.
A business proposition?
Yes. You see, I've obtained some rather interesting information about the way you handle your taxes.
What is this? Some kind of a joke?
Not at all. I intend to report you to the Collector of Internal Revenue.
Report me? Now, wait a minute. You can't do that.
Want to stop me? You can, with half of what you've saved.
You mean you expect to be paid to keep quiet?
Put it any way you want, Mr. Oglethorpe. Just as long as you understand.
And that was your daughter's voice?
Yes.
Better take her down and book her, Miss Sloan.
I'm sorry, Mother.
I'm sorry, too, Mrs. Griffin. I'm David Bryan. I hope you enjoyed Mr. District Attorney as much as we enjoyed bringing it to you. Next week, we have rather an exciting story. I think you'll like it.